Hello and welcome to Story Circles. People all over the world, from every culture and every group, have had stories passed along through time to them. The story of Daedalus and Icarus comes to us from the ancient Greeks. It was first recorded about 3,000 years ago. It must be a pretty good one for us to still be telling it. So, here it is. I hope you enjoy it. Daedalus and Icarus.
More than 3,000 years ago, on the beautiful Greek island of Crete, there lived a master engineer, Daedalus, and his son Icarus. Daedalus was renowned for his ingenious inventions, and the ruler of Crete, King Minos, often required his services. One day, the island faced a terrifying problem. A young minotaur, which had features of both man and bull, threatened their peaceful existence. When it bellowed, the earth rumbled and shook like it would in an earthquake. King Minos believed that Daedalus was responsible for its creation, so he challenged the builder to construct a labyrinth in which, at the center, the minotaur would be trapped. "Design the greatest labyrinth you can imagine," Minos ordered. "Make it so that the Minotaur will never escape, and do it quickly before the creature gets any bigger." With young Icarus at his side, Daedalus set to work creating the largest, trickiest, and most complicated maze, with winding paths and dark, narrow passages. The youth ran playfully along its paths, calling out for his father to find him. When it was finally completed, the labyrinth was so complex that the two of them could hardly find their way back to the entrance. The king's men dragged the Minotaur through the labyrinth to its center, where they chained the beast to an iron post. When Minos saw what had been accomplished, he said, "Very clever. From now on, no one needs to be afraid of the Minotaur." Daedalus replied, "I'm happy that you are pleased. We're ready to leave Crete and return to our hometown." The king objected. "Why would I let you leave? Crete needs you." To prevent them from traveling, the king set his sentries to patrol the island's coastline. Then he gave another order. "So that you may not escape under the cover of darkness, you will spend every night in the labyrinth. My best men will guard the entrance." Daedalus began to hate this time in Crete. Hours became days, days became weeks and months. A long stretch of sea lay between them and the place they called home. At night, the tangy, fishy smell of the sea wafted inland, and he wondered how they could slip away by boat without being caught. Then, one night, imprisoned in his own creation, a plan came to Daedalus. "Minos rules over this land and blocks my way by sea. But there is certainly another way," he said to Icarus, "a way through the sky." They looked up at the clear night sky with its shades of deep violet and darkest blue. The stars shone like sapphires, rubies, and diamonds. "That is the way we will go," he said, and he set his mind to work. In the morning, released from the labyrinth, they were allowed the freedom of their own mountainside cottage. Icarus was sent in search of feathers. Vultures, eagles, owls, woodpeckers, falcons, kingfishers, ducks, geese, flamingos. Bird life was abundant on the island. and their sharp calls, whistles, and squawks were a constant backdrop of sound to their daily activities. The youth spent the day searching the seashores and the mountains, and returned to their cottage with sacks of feathers. Every day, Daedalus worked on his new invention. He set out feathers according to their length, designing pairs of wings to suit them both. Icarus loved the soft, fluffy plumes. He chased after the ones blown about by the wind, and tickled his father's face when he could. Daedalus put the feathers together by tying them in the middle with twine and joining them at the base with beeswax. This too Icarus enjoyed, sticking his fingers into the pliable wax for fun while they worked. The time came to test the new invention. Daedalus attached his wings to his arms and shoulders and flapped them up and down until he lifted off the ground. He hung in mid-air for a moment, then flapped and rose upwards. Icarus laughed in jubilation. Soon Daedalus was fitting Icarus with his fabricated wings. As he did so, he gave instructions about how to use them. "My strongest advice," he said, "is to fly at a moderate height, neither too high nor too low. If you fly close to the sea, the damp air will weigh down your feathers. If you fly too high, the heat of the sun will soften the wax and weaken the structure of your wings." As they stood there, wings in place, Daedalus shed a tear, thinking of the perils of the long flight ahead. He bent, kissed his son's forehead, then together they lifted off. "Remember," he cautioned, "stay close behind me and follow what I do." Daedalus flew in front of Icarus, calling out words of encouragement and guidance to him, and looking back occasionally to check on him. They crossed the island to the sea, passing over shepherds and fishermen who watched up in amazement, wondering if these men were in fact gods. As they glided over nearby islands, the burdens of his life in Crete left Daedalus. A similar feeling of freedom took hold of Icarus. The youth began to enjoy the thrill of such a daring experience. And soon he forgot his father's advice. The open sky called out to him, and he soared higher and higher, closer and closer to the sun. As the wax softened, the structure of his wings grew weak. Icarus flapped as fast as he possibly could, but he was no longer able to fly. When Daedalus looked around, he saw that his son had lost his wings and was plummeting to the churning sea beneath. Daedalus regretted inventing the wings and wept bitterly for the loss of his son. The people of Greece named an island after Icarus, and even today we still read about his tragic end.